In 1977, Lauren Tewes broke out all over the world when she played Julie McCoy on The Love Boat. She had lost everything by 1984. Her job, her money, and even her house. Fans thought she left to get married, but the truth was hidden for decades. She's finally telling the truth about why Julie McCoy had to leave and the 22-minute meeting that put an end to everything today. She was born in Braddock, Pennsylvania on October 26, 1953. She grew up with 3 brothers in a working-class family. Joseph, her father, was very good at making patterns out of wood, and Joanne, her mother, ran the household. Lauren's family came from Germany. Her grandfather was one of them. In a factory town, life was simple but steady. Things changed for Lauren when she was 8 years old. Her family moved across the country to Whittier, California, on August 15, 1961. The move made a lot of changes. The harsh industrial setting in Pennsylvania was not at all like the sunny suburbs of California. Lauren had a hard time making friends at her new school. She felt like she didn't belong because of her East Coast accent. But this hard time led to something good. She joined the school's theater club when she was in the 5th grade. In her first part, she played a naughty elf in a Christmas play. She loved being in front of people, and she was happy and sure of herself. That moment made her want to become an actress. While she was in high school at Pioneer in 1967, Lauren really got into performance. Over the course of 4 years, she was in 12 plays and quickly became the star of the drama school. 3 years in a row, she won the school's Best Actress award for all her hard work. The last year of high school, she was in My Fair Lady as Eliza Doolittle. Everyone was amazed by her act, which got her a standing ovation and attention in the area. Her theater teacher saw how talented she was and pushed her to become an actress. Lauren graduated from high school in 1971 and wanted to keep playing, but she didn't have much money. Rio Hondo College, a nearby community college, is where she decided to study theater arts. It wasn't fancy. It was a start, though. She put in a lot of work and was in 7 shows, such as Cat on a Hot Tin Roof and Much Ado About Nothing. The teacher, Richard Chamberlain, saw how talented she was. He taught her new things and pushed her to take on bigger roles and get better at what she did. She really tried hard, and in 1973, she got the Chancellor's Award for Excellence in Theater. The prize came with a grant that let her move to UC Riverside. She got a taste of the bigger world of theater at UC Riverside, but her time there didn't last long. In 1974, her scholarship ran out, and she couldn't afford to stay. She was upset, but she was determined. She didn't give up. Instead, she did something brave and joined the Pacific Conservatory Theater in Big Sur, California. It took a lot of work, with tough jobs and long days, but she loved it. Lauren Tewes' path to Hollywood began with a small but unexpected event. She got a simple 30-second Lipton iced tea ad on July 15, 1974, when she was only 20 years old and having a hard time making ends meet in Los Angeles. It was just a short ad, not a big movie or TV show, but it changed everything about her life. She smiled and drank iced tea in the ad, which showed that she was happy in herself. It got the attention of important people in Hollywood and was liked by many. At the time, that little ad brought her $3,500, which was a lot of money. It opened up a lot of doors, which was even better. Lauren joined a Screen Actors Guild because of the Lipton ad that helped them get real acting jobs. She started on August 1st, 1974, and soon after, she signed with the William Morris Agency, which is one of the biggest talent companies. Lauren's work started to move faster after the Lipton ad. She was on 14 TV shows between 1974 and 1977. On the crime show The Manhunter in 1974, she had her first lead part. After a few months, in January 1975, she played a woman who was locked up in Charlie's Angels. People saw how talented she was. Then, in 1976, she played a district attorney on Starsky and Hutch, which was a very interesting part, and thought she was quite unique. Spelling said in an interview, "Lauren had this rare mix of virtue and sex appeal that I knew people would love. She could play both serious and funny parts so well that he kept an eye on her work." Spelling began work on a new show in 1976 that took place on a cruise ship. He thought Tewes might be a good fit for the job of cruise director on the ship, but he didn't give her the job right away. Instead, he put her through auditions for other projects under his production company. Spelling had plans for Tewes, but she didn't know it. She kept trying out for roles and making casting directors happy, but she never got any big roles. Spelling quietly trained her behind the scenes for the part that would make or break her career. His life changed in an instant in October 1977. At 9 p.m. on October 15th, Aaron Spelling called her and offered her the part of Julie McCoy, the ship director on the Love Boat. The movie was going to start the next morning. In the end, Tewes said she first thought it was a joke. She thought about who would offer a lead part with less than 12 hours notice, but it was real. She learned about cruise ships and her lines over the course of the night. She had to be on set at the RMS Queen Mary in Long Beach, California, the next morning. A friend loaned her $17.50 to fix a flat tire on her old Volkswagen Bug because her own car wasn't working. She wasn't aware of it yet, but this job would soon make her famous. In less than a day, she had to remember 47 pages of conversation. She practiced her lines whenever she had time, even when she was on set and had to hide in the bathroom to do it. Her main line kept getting messed up on her first day. "Hello and welcome. I'm Julie McCoy, and I'm in charge of your cruise." She was so scared that 23 times she said Julie McCloud instead. But everyone could tell she was different. After only 3 days, the producers changed many of her scenes and gave her a bigger part because they knew she was great for it. Lauren wasn't the first person who thought she should play the part. Along with Meryl Streep, who wasn't known at the time, 99 other actors were in the running. The hiring manager said Lauren got the part because she knew when to cry. She was asked to cry during her interview, and in just 7 seconds, tears started to fall from her face. That made it official. The Love Boat was an instant hit when it first aired on September 24th, 1977. It made ships very popular. Reservations went up by 172%. To meet the demand, cruise lines had to build more ships. The theme song also became well-known. It even became the song of the Norwegian Merchant Navy for a while. The Love Boat was a hit all over the world, and its fans could be seen in fashion, travel, and even Navy recruiting ads. Fans of the show were so crazy about it that they used an old boat to make a fake country called Love Boat Nation. They had their own money and passports with pictures of the group on them. It was only on for 37 days before the Coast Guard took it away, which shows how much people liked the show. Lauren became popular very quickly because of all of this. People everywhere knew who she was in just 2 weeks. Strange things began to happen among fans. One day, more than 300 people swarmed her in a grocery store, doing damage worth thousands of dollars. It cost 3 times as much to hire 3 protectors to follow her around for 8 months. Every week, 1,500 fans wrote her letters, and some of them asked her to marry them. One friend sent her a rose petal every day for a year, and at the end, she sent her a whole bouquet. But success came quickly and was hard to handle. In 1979, only 2 years into the show, Lauren could feel the stress. She wasn't used to living in Hollywood. She once said it was like being a kid from Whittier, California, thrown into a life of glitz and excess all of a sudden. She wasn't sure how to fit in. Lauren began going to fancy parties in Hollywood. It made her feel like she didn't belong at these events because everyone else was so confident and beautiful. She started drinking at these events because she thought it would help her unwind and fit in better. But the long days of shooting, which began early in the morning, didn't go well with staying up late and drinking a lot. Soon, Lauren started arriving to set late and sometimes drunk. Someone nearby saw the changes, but since the show was going so well, no one asked what was wrong. Millions of people watched The Love Boat every week by 1980. It got harder for Lauren to look and act great as the show got bigger. She went to well-known events, but she didn't feel happy. Instead, she felt like she didn't belong. At one party, she heard actors talking about how they use cocaine to stay slim and have a lot of energy. She thought about this a lot because she was told she had to lose weight to keep her part on the show. On February 14th, 1981, everything changed. After a split, Lauren felt weak, so she went to a big party. Someone in charge came up to her and offered her cocaine, saying it would help her calm down. She saw it before and always said no. She gave up that night. After the fact, she said that all she wanted at that time was to feel like she belonged. She felt strong and sure of herself after taking cocaine. She believed she had finally discovered a way to fit in. However, this choice quickly became a trouble. Even though she worked on the show, Lauren used cocaine several times a week by the summer of 1981. Lauren tried to hide her drug use at this time. She got to work early to use cocaine alone, and she made up reasons for her stuffy nose and other drug use red flags. To make it look like she hadn't lost weight, she wore a suit with padding. She took the drug to stay awake and concentrate, but it was killing her. It was later revealed that Tewes sometimes went to work after not getting enough sleep for days on end. Her look began to change because of her drug use. Tewes tried to keep her job, her husband, and her life all together, but it was not possible. She said in 1985, "I was trying to keep my job, my husband, and my house. I tried to make everyone happy. I was hurting myself." Her drug use was no longer a secret by the 7th season of the show, which ran from 1983 to 1984. Producers and co-stars could see how hard it was on them. This woman went to rehab in 1982, but it didn't help because she kept using drugs while she worked on the show. She lost weight, hurt her teeth, had mood swings, and became paranoid because she felt like she had to keep up a perfect public image while she was her addiction. Her addiction also hurt the people she worked with. In the first few seasons, her co-stars, such as Gavin MacLeod and Bernie Capel, were there for her. But as her drug use got worse, they got angry. She started being late, forgetting her lines, and even showing up while clearly drunk. These issues led to delays and reshoots that cost the company a lot of money. One day in 1983, Tewes locked herself in her dressing room for hours. Filming had to be canceled for the whole day. Producers sent her to rehab to try to help her, but it didn't work. Things she did kept getting worse. On set, there were also things that shocked everyone. In a late 1983 episode, Tewes showed up so drunk that she couldn't say her lines. Where tries failed several times, she yelled at the director and stormed off the set. In 1984, she fled for 24 hours while filming in the Caribbean, making everyone worried. They finally found her in a nearby bar, but she was confused and couldn't say where she had been. That mistake cost $100,000 and a whole day of work. She also often arrived late or not at all. At one live promotional event, she was clearly drunk and almost fell off the stage, making her co-stars look bad. Her drug use not only hurt her health, but also cost her money. Tewes used to make $10,000 an episode of A Love Boat, which is about $35,000 an episode these days. But she spent all the money on her drug habit. She told them that she spent more than $1,000 a day on cocaine, which added up to $365,000 a year. Altogether, she spent about $2 million, which is about $7 million today. She couldn't pay her bills and lost her house and car. She had almost nothing left when she was fired in 1984. Suits made her problems worse. Creditors and even her old boss sued her for fees she hadn't paid. She said she owed more than $500,000 and had less than $100,000 in assets when she filed for bankruptcy in 1985. Lauren Tewes' life came to a head during the 7th season of The Love Boat in 1983. At that point, she was hooked on cocaine. Her weight had dropped to 98 pounds, and the way she was acting slowed down output by a huge amount. On November 3rd, 1983, while an episode was being filmed, things got worse. She got a bad nosebleed in the middle of a scene, which stopped filming for more than 2 hours. They tried to help her, but she got mad, yelled at them, and stormed off. After, Ted Lang, her co-star, found her slumped over in her changing room. The director, Douglas S. Kramer, had been worried about Tewes for many years. In 1982, he told ABC execs that her mood swings and weight loss were becoming big problems. He had kept track of 23 times she was late, forgot her lines, or behaved in a strange way by the end of 1982. He talked to her about drugs in a secret meeting on January 7th, 1983. She said nothing was true, got mad, and said he was ruining her future. She stormed out and said she was going to quit. Aaron Spelling, the producer, made one last offer. He would pay for her to go to a private 6-month rehab center in Switzerland. She agreed at first, but changed her mind at the last minute. People who heard her said, "I'd rather die than give up cocaine." At that point, it was clear she couldn't stay on the show. Behind closed doors, Kramer, Spelling, ABC officials, and lawyers got together on January 7th, 1984. They had a fight for more than 6 hours. It all came down to money in the end. It had cost the show $3.2 million over 2 seasons because of her delays. Big companies said they would pull their ads, too. The news was told to her in person by Kramer on January 10, 1984. It was a 22-minute meeting. When Tewes broke down, she could not stop crying. After that, the medical team had to put her to sleep. So as not to shock fans, the writers slowly got rid of her character, Julie McCoy. On February 25, 1984, her last show aired. Julie said she was going to get married in it. At first, fans didn't know the real reason. The number of viewers dropped by 22% for the first show without her, but they rose again by the end of the season. She got off the Love Boat in 1984, but Lauren Tewes' life was hard after that. She used to be famous in Hollywood, but everyone seemed to forget about her. She tried out for parts all through 1984 and 1986, but didn't get many. She got a few small parts, like a small part in the 1985 TV movie Hollywood Wives and a guest spot on Hotel in 1986. Being a star and having to work hard for small jobs were very different for her. She said in an interview in 1987 that she couldn't even get tryouts for simple roles like a dog food ad. She had no more savings by the end of 1986. Lauren went back to the Love Boat for a short time in 1985, just 1 year after leaving the show. Lauren wasn't sure at first if she should go back. She was afraid that it would bring up old problems, but director Aaron Spelling told her directly that the setting would be helpful. It felt strange when she walked back onto the set. She said it felt like going back in time. It looked the same, but felt different. The crew gave her a standing ovation, which made her cry. She only had 3 days to film her scenes, and she was only in the show for 11 minutes. It was a lot less than what she used to make, $15,000 a year. People really liked the show, with 15% more people than the week before, but it was her last time on the show. Lauren chose to start over after all of these problems. She put her attention on area theater and voice acting after moving to Seattle, Washington in 1994. She became a member of the Tacoma Actors Guild and often did shows at the Seattle Repertory Theater. From 1994 to 2000, she was in more than 20 plays on stage, such as Who's Afraid of Virginia Woolf, 1998, and A Streetcar Named Desire, 1996. People who reviewed her work said that her acts were moving and strong. At the same time, Lauren started doing voice work, which let her work without having to worry about being famous. In 1997, she got her big break when she was cast as Nadine the Narwhal in the Freddy Fish video game series. This led to more jobs in games like Pajama Party and The X-Files. Sam Treci. She had voiced over 30 shows by 2005. Lauren also had a long fight with addiction that began in the early 1980s. As she watched TV one day, she was high on cocaine and didn't know what to do. She was changing channels when she heard Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood. She stopped in her tracks when she heard Fred Rogers' soft voice singing, "Won't You Be My Neighbor?" It touched her in a way she didn't expect. Lauren couldn't take her eyes off of it. Fred Rogers used dolls to help him tell stories about self-worth and kindness, and she watched for 37 minutes. This show brought her comfort and peace in a time when her life was very busy. She broke down in tears because her life felt so different from the show's easy, good message. She felt something change inside her when it was over. She saw that her addiction wasn't just hurting her job. It was also hurting her relationships with other people and her sense of self. In the end, she said, "God is speaking to me through Mr. Rogers." She called a rehab center the next day. That was the first step on her way to staying sober. Wednesday, January 24th, 1984, was the second day that Lauren went to the Betty Ford Center for a 30-day rehab program. It was tough. Through group and one-on-one treatment, she dealt with the issues that made her turn to drugs in the first place. The real work started when she left. It was said that she wasn't stable, so Hollywood no longer wanted her. She also lost her $50,000, a show job on the Love Boat. She didn't give up, though. Every day, she went to meets for Narcotics Anonymous and worked with a sponsor to stay on track. In 1985, she chose to tell everyone her story. In an interview with Barbara Walters, she talked about her drug use and how she got better. Making that choice was brave, and it showed other people that addiction could be beaten. Lauren slowly began to rebuild her playing career. She had small parts in TV movies and went on shows like Murder, she wrote. She had been clean for 6 years by 1990. To make her life more interesting, she went back to school to study psychology and how to help people who are addicted. She also started helping other people in rehab who were going through the same thing she was. Lauren found a new love in 1991, cooking. Her favorite recipes were the ones her grandma used to make. She signed up for the Seattle Culinary Academy to try something different. She fell in love with making cheese right away. She worked in restaurants in Seattle after finishing in 1992 and became known as a skilled sous chef. She became more and more fond of cheese. She also went to France in 1995 to learn more. She learned how to age cheese and about European customs while living with the famous cheesemaker Hervé Mons for 3 months. Lauren turned her interest into something special when she got back to the U.S. She started The Cheese Whiz in 1998 as a mobile service for events that let people taste cheese. People loved her story about how she went from being a TV star to an expert on cheese. She talked about how much she loves cheese on TV and the radio. She was one of only 45 people in North America to get a qualified cheese professional title in 2003, which was a big deal. Then, in 2005, she wrote a book called Say Cheese, which was a tour of the world of handmade cheeses. It was a hit, and more people learned about how unique good cheeses can be. She married John Wassell for the first time. On November 20th, 1977, they got married. She was only 24 years old at the time, and she was already popular for her role as Julie McCoy on The Love Boat. Things went badly very quickly after a good start. Their marriage is under a lot of stress because of Lauren's newfound fame and long work hours. John, who directed TV ads, had a hard time keeping up with her busy schedule. She worked 5 days a week for 14 to 16 hours. They didn't spend much time together, and when they did, they often fought because she was too focused on work and not on them. Lauren began taking cocaine. At first, it was just for fun, but it quickly turned into a serious problem. She skipped family events to go out with beautiful people in Hollywood. John tried to save the marriage by calling her out on her drug use, but she wouldn't stop. It was getting worse between them by 1980. Lauren's drug use started to get in the way of her work too. She was often late to film, so she could not be counted on. In late 1981, things came to a head when she overdosed at a cast party. John then asked for a divorce. It was signed off on in early 1982. In the end, Lauren realized that her addiction and need for fame destroyed the marriage. She knew she had to change after losing John, but it took her years to stay clean. Lauren had one of the worst times of her life in 1987. Bianca Joanne was born on March 1st, 3 months before she was due. Bianca was very small. She weighed only 11 ounces. So quickly, she was taken to the NICU at Cedars-Sinai Medical Center. Lauren spent every day with her and hardly left the hospital. The worry was too much. The staff and her sponsor even talked her out of using cocaine again to stay awake, which she did not do. Bianca's little body couldn't live after a month of fighting. On April 1st, she died. Lauren was very sad. She later said it hurt more than anything else she had ever felt to lose Bianca. For Lauren, this tragedy changed her a lot. She became an advocate for the March of Dimes, which raises awareness about babies being born too early. She also set up a memorial fund for Bianca Joanne too that has raised millions of dollars for study into newborns. Lauren stayed sober after she lost Bianca. She said she wanted to make her life better in memory of her daughter. She fell in love with stage star Robert Nadir again in 1996. In 1993, they met on stage in a play and went out together for 2 years before getting married on May 1st, 1996. Robert was nice, helpful, and loved theater as much as Lauren did. Making friends in the art scene in Seattle, they built a happy life together. But their happiness didn't last long. Robert began to feel weak and tired in 1997. After months of tests, he was told in early 1998 that he had ALS, an illness that kills. The news was terrible. Lauren quit her job to take care of Robert. She learned how to use medical gear and took full-time care of him. They kept up with the arts despite everything. They even set up a charity to help fund studies into ALS. Robert's health got worse, and he died in 2002, only 6 years after they got married. Lauren said that the years she spent with Robert were the best and happiest of her life. He showed her what love and bravery were all about. Lauren is now 71 years old and loves radio dramas even more than she used to. She has been in a mystery comedy show called Murder and the Murdochs since 2020. In this show, she plays private investigator Maxine Murdoch. She has also been on other radio shows. These parts have given her a chance to meet with new people and keep her love of performing alive. In 2024, she chatted with other Love Boat fans on a cruise ship, where she told funny stories and talked about her time on the show. She's also writing a biography called Steering My Own Boat, which will come out in 2026. Her fights with drugs will be written about in the book, and her path to getting better. In talks, she said some shocking things about her life, like how she turned down $1 million to pose for Playboy when she was a famous love boat. After everything that has happened, Lauren has stayed strong and used her story to encourage others to keep going.